All right. High wire. Test. All right, we're rolling. All right, welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean, today we're going to get into the topic of anchoring, right?
Yes. Yep.
And we'll play this game. Once we start discussing it, you'll see how it's being used and how you can use it in your own marketing, in pricing. I think people fail to utilize this strategy effectively a lot of times. And so we'll be sharing some examples.
And it's there are more ways to anchor than you might first think. Like it's not just an apples to apples, lower your price kind of thing. And by the way, when we say anchoring, we're not talking about boating and how to deploy an anchor. It's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about anchoring in this case, we'll be talking a lot about pricing. There are other things you can anchor for sure. But mostly we'll be talking about price, and there's multiple different ways to attack this. So we've got 3 or 4 articles that we've referenced and pulled content from shamelessly to piece this show together today.
Originally, I wanted to do the topic because I'm going through this new biography on Elon Musk, right?
Is that the Walter Isaacson version?
Yeah. So I've been listening to, I've got it on Audible, so I've been listening to some of it whenever I travel. But
he's like the bio guru, isn't he? Like Walter Isaacson, like
he does all the big ones. Like he's done the Steve Jobs.
Made it.
Yeah, exactly. Because he takes his time. I mean, it's years of research, and he doesn't spend these things out back to back to back. I mean, he spends a lot of time.
I listened about 4 or 5 years ago to, I can't remember her name. Somebody did a bio on biography on Elon Musk.
Yeah.
It was all right, but it wasn't great. So
this one goes deep.
Well, a lot's happened in 5 years too.
Yeah, exactly.
Since the last one was written.
Yep.
So good so far.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. It's interesting. Obviously interesting childhood, but when he was a kid, one of the things I was like, oh, this would be interesting to talk about some takeaways on hypnosis and how he's used it. But, when Elon was a kid, he learned, he studied, he was a reader when he was a kid. He was kind of a goofy kid, learned hypnosis, and even to the point where he convinced his younger sister that she was a dog and actually persuaded her to eat some raw bacon. Nice. So he talks about that in the book. So it's like, but yeah, he devoured books, and one of those things was on persuasion or hypnosis, and he would do magic and things like that. So I thought that'd be an interesting topic. But then I started reading. We did, looking through some things, and then started looking at like some strategies he used for, anchoring when he, got people he started getting people to pay for Twitter, which, most people would think, why would I pay for Twitter? But obviously a lot of people are on the paid blue check program right now. So, but there's some strategies that I was reading about, and, it goes back to the old, anchoring strategy and pricing. And we'll share some examples of things that he used there and how you can use some other examples. You sent me an article. There's other examples we can talk about in everyday life that you find that you're like, that, and you see how it gets you every time, right? It's like,
you'll recognize some of the stuff when we talk about it, and you'll see what people are doing to you.
Yep.
And even if you know it, it still works. Like it just happens so fast in your brain. You're really almost powerless to it. So,
yep. Steve Jobs is a master at this. There's part of that article that I shared with you talks about Steve Jobs, how he used to do it in some of his presentations, just masterfully. I think of his presentations that were just so smooth. They were the ultimate without really being sales. They were persuasion 101. Anybody should watch some of his old, keynotes or those live events or the launches that Apple would do. Those were amazing.
Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into it, but let's do some. Let's talk about our little beverages, a little juvenile beer talk segment.
Our juvenile beer talk.
All right, so,
I'm excited about mine today.
All
so
right, let me hear it. I heard you say that. So, what do you got?
I have another, these 10W40 series that we've had, a number of them. So this one caught my eye yesterday, Sean. This is it's a caramel macchiato.
Ooh,
10W40.
Wow. That sounds good.
Imperial stout brewed with high noon coffee, vanilla, caramel, and of course lactose.
Wow, that does sound good. I can see why you're excited about that. Hopefully it doesn't go horribly wrong.
I hope not. Spent a fortune on this 4-pack.
Yeah, you start throwing the word imperial, talk about price anchoring.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you just added $4 to my.
That's right. Imperial price upsell, or I mean, they're really good, and most of these are super good. But they do know how to get their high margins out of you so easily. They price these 4-packs, and they're like that's another example of anchoring, because they put it right next to the shelf on something that's of similar value or more that has more, a few more beers to the pack. Of course, these are a little bit bigger, but so I'm excited. It's like an 8%, 8%. So
we're in the same neighborhood today then. So I've got a St. Arnold's Tarnation.
Ooh,
is what it's called. It is from St. Arnold Brewing here in Texas. So it says here's the copy for it. Easy, partner. This ain't no run-of-the-mill ale you're looking at. Matter of fact, this here bottle just so happens to contain the most rootin' strong ale this side of the Guadalupe. It's rich, it's malty, and it's doggone tasty, if we do say so ourselves. See, we brew Tarnation just for you and your wild bunch to enjoy all year round. It's made with 4 different malts, 4 different hops, and at 9.0% ABV. We'll be darned if it ain't one of the highest alcohol recipes ever kicked up with a Kalt's yeast. Yep, this one's so good you'll be asking yourself, what in tarnation?
There's a lot of stuff going on with that can art that doesn't seem like it matches the
all their
the
stuff.
tone.
Their St. Arnold is like that's their mascot. Like this St. Arnold dude is their mascot for all their beers. Like if you look,
I don't picture St. Arnold talking like that though.
I know that this is in particular a Texas one.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe he was the guy at the Alamo. I might need to do a little research on that history.
I love the art though. That's good.
Yeah. Houston, Texas. Yep, I don't see.
First keg of beer was shipped out on June 9th, 1994. All right.
Yeah, they were ahead of the craft brew craze a little bit. So mine's 9%, and it's a dark, or not a dark, but it's a rich, robust ale.
Look at that.
But not an imperial stout. So, all right. Cheers.
Beautiful. Cheers.
Boy, howdy.
Man, what in tarnation did I just have?
That is some liquid gold. Actually, mine's really good too. Mine's got like you primed. So we're talking about anchoring, but you also primed me with the word caramel. So I'm tasting a little caramel, even though it's not in here. Yeah, it's got something like that. Because it says rich and robust. I'm not sure what I'm tasting, but it definitely has like caramel undertones to it. So anyway, mine's really good. Yours is almost half gone. I can see by.
Oh man, it's so good.
Good thing you got a 4-pack. You have to sleep there tonight at the office. But.
Exactly. I'm not going anywhere. Well, I'm going to let you go first because I've
Man, I
got,
tell you what, I was not expecting it to be this good.
yeah.
I'm gonna give this a 4.8.
Oof.
It's really like it's got some of the richness of like a stout or some of the stouts that we have, but it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely leans more towards ale, but it's definitely got the richness. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to describe it. I'm not. You'd think after 325 episodes, I would know how to describe beer, but not yet.
Not yet. But we do know what we like.
We do.
And so that's the most important thing and what we
Yep.
recommend. You know what, Sean? I was debating.
Uh-oh.
It's
Here it comes.
it's easily. I mean, I could say 4.8, but man, I got to compare this to any other 5 that I've ever had, and it's to me, it's just outstanding. So I'm going to give it a 5 pint rating today.
All right.
All right. Turn out the strobe, man. No, this is incredible because you would think being an Imperial would be like an overly, but this it's a real good mixture with the coffee, kind of balances it with the with it being,
Sweet.
kind of offsets the sweetness. So
Yeah,
man, it is good.
I have to see if I can find that at Total Wine.
Oh man, it's so good.
Because it's 1040. Is High Wire? Is that a
It's
local?
High
Is that
Wire.
Nashville?
Yeah, I think so.
Nashville, right?
Yep. Because I couldn't even find their website. I Googled. I just found some of their ratings, but it's probably the best 1040 I've had. I don't remember.
Yeah, and their stuff's good. So
Yeah.
a lot. All right. Well, let's jump into some anchoring, specifically around price. So let's start with the old Elon Musk article you sent me.
Yeah.
And
so,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the Elon Musk strategy. So I actually printed this out, but my printer did a horrible job of
Let me put it up on the screen.
Yeah, put it up on the screen. I've actually got the article, but you might have it listed there. But so whatever you think of Elon Musk, when he took over Twitter, he knew what he was doing because obviously when he took over Twitter, they were losing money big time. So obviously, he had to monetize it in some way. So obviously he came out with the blue mark. Twitter already had the blue check mark, but he decided to create a way to monetize that. And it came out, and I didn't realize this. It came out in October last October, that Twitter was planning to charge users $20 for the Twitter blue, that coveted blue check mark. And he got there was a lot of backlash on that, a lot of pushback, people complaining, blah, 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 people that have been on there forever. And, but that's not what the price ended up being. So I find it interesting that, shortly after, that dropping that $20 announcement or letting it leak out there is going to be $20, that the real price came out that the service would be $7.99 per month. So, so I think that was
cheap, right? I mean, it's half the price that you were, or third the price you were expecting.
So I found, that to me, I think that was all intentional, right? I mean, he obviously knew leaking that $20 price, getting people, obviously worked up for a higher price. Most people are like, no way, I'm not going to pay that. Forget it. I'm getting off Twitter. I'm done. And then shortly after coming out with obviously the $7.99 per month, people kind of lessened the blow, so to speak, that people are saying, so, what would have happened had he just come out with a $7.99 or $8 a month from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, people would have still pitched the
Complain.
exact same fit,
right?
At that price, and then
Right,
to
exactly.
justify it, have to go even lower.
Absolutely.
So to say $20, it like just gets, which how many of these same people that are complaining about that kind of stuff, for years have been paying $300 a year to the Chamber of Commerce for a plaque that hangs on their wall that nobody sees.
Exactly.
But they're upset about paying, $20 a month for, or half the price for, something that reaches the world. I mean, I just think it's funny how people online,
how they value. Yeah, exactly.
How much lower value seems to be online than offline.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, so that's a really good example of, price anchoring, but there's a lot of different ways you can do price anchoring. And we talk about some of in this article. So one of the ones it talks about is to use strike through pricing for deals. So this one is, when you see this everywhere, right? You list the price, and then you do the strike through, and then you put the new price. And typically, the strike through price will either be like black or gray with a little line through it, normal text, and then the current price will be a colored text, and probably bold, so it stands out, and there's a lot of contrast. And I've seen a lot of funnels where I'll make that suggestion on the down in the offer section where they don't have something like that, and it makes a big difference having it or not having it. So some people are like, well, I've never really sold it at that price, so how do I, this is just my price, this is the first time selling it, how do I do that? It's like, well, you can just make up a price that's maybe, I think who does this really well is like Marshalls and TJ Maxx.
Yeah.
So on their tags, they always say manufacturer price, which is the highest price. Then it'll say average retail price, which would be like, where you would get it normally in a store.
Right.
And then your price, which is the lowest. I think so if you don't feel comfortable like just making up a price and striking through it, you could say average, online price for similar courses, and put like a thing, and then drop your price below it, because you can compare. So it doesn't have to be your thing, right? You could compare it to something else.
The
other thing is you could launch it $25, make one sale, and then lower it down to so you can honestly say that it was that lower price, or that it used to be higher.
So why does this work for human beings? I mean, why are we so susceptible to this? I mean, because people even that know what it is are affected. So the psychology behind it, because I think we're all we're all prone to, cognitive bias,
Yeah, well, I mean, it plays into what we're all plagued with, and that is comparison and relativity, right?
Right.
We're always comparing ourselves and things we want to other things, other people, other prices. It's just how we do things. Like we just compare things. It's how we categorize. It's how the brain sorts things.
And we tend to judge the value of things, but it's usually based on relative comparisons, everything. So the first thing that out there, and you see people do it all the time. Why is a real estate agent, they always take you, if they're taking you to a list of homes in a certain neighborhood that you're looking to buy, any smart real estate agents, what are they going to do? They're going to take you to the highest priced house first. If they're smart, if they know what they're doing, they're going to take you to the most expensive place. Even if you've set your budget, they're going to go above that. And they're going to say, oh, this is amazing, and then, obviously it's primed you so that even you see this in House Hunters all the time. I don't know if you ever see that show, but they take them to the most expensive house. And even if somebody has a budget, they've like, this is our budget, which is kind of crazy to begin with. Some of these people, I don't know where their budgets come from. But typically they end up paying, a lot of times they end up paying over their budget just because they've automatically been primed with the higher price. They've been anchored in the higher price.
Yeah.
So when
and it's not even just the price, right? And that's where I want to say, like, it's not just drop your price, right? You can also change the stack of what you get for the same price.
Yeah.
And that's really, I think that's also what a good real estate agent is doing, is they're saying, look, if you want all these things without having to, remodel or upgrade, or this is what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
So then they have to choose, do they want to pay more money, or do they want to give up luxuries basically that they want? And typically people will find more money than they will give up.
Right. Because they don't want it. They feel like they're already losing. They're losing stuff. You've already been anchored into the fact that you're losing things. Things are being taken from you.
That third bathroom would be really nice when people come over. It's like, those kind of little things. So it definitely. So it's that relativity, next to something else.
Right.
It could even be, it doesn't have to be price for price. Like, one thing I do when I'm having sales conversations with people is I want to make sure that during the conversation, I get out numbers in the conversation that are 20 to 100 times bigger than what I think I'm going to quote.
Sure.
So if I'm going to quote $10,000 for a sales letter or something like that, then I want to get numbers out on the table that are 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, things like that. And the way I do that is I will ask them questions like, well, what's a new customer, worth to you? I know it's worth $2,000 lifetime value. And I'm like, okay, well, what if you get an extra customer every week? Right. And then it's like, oh, well, that'd be, 8,000 a month.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, so if we do that every month for, let's say, a year, and then I pause and I do my Columbo thing. I'm like, so 8 times 12, and they're like 96. Dude, come on. So they say it instead of me.
That's right. That's important.
Yeah. So then they're like 96. And I was like, all right, do you plan on being in business for, 2 to 5 years? And they're like, yeah. Right. I was like, okay, so if we did 96,000 times 5 years, that'd be, and then they, 490, whatever it is, thousand, right? So now they're anchored to $490,000 is what I'm going to get. So this is like a contrast, it's like, okay, I'm anchored to this big number. That's what I could get. And now it's only going to cost me 10,000. Like, that's a deal. I'll take it.
Right.
So it's not just, oh, normally I sell this for 15. I'll give it to you for 10. Just
sure.
You can do just a price drop, but there's other ways to anchor and make your price relative to I wrote down, like, it could be relative to other prices. It could be relative to other opportunities. It could be relative to missed opportunities. It could be relative to potential gains. It could be relative to income. It could be relative to beliefs about what's possible. Like, there's a lot of things you could anchor price to. It doesn't have to be just dollar to dollar.
Right.
Yeah. What are some, we've talked about REI before. They're one of the examples in one of these articles.
Yeah.
It's like they give you the, what is it, 10% cash back?
Yep.
In the form of the refund or dividend, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Which then makes it look really cheap when you go to spend that in March. You go to spend that, it's like, oh, but I've got free money sitting over here. So that, that new canoe I wanted is not really $500 because I've got $300 in credits.
That's right.
So it's credits work really well to anchor. What else? Like, so, but there's, I'll tell you one bias.
One of the things that I use, and I like for podcast when I'm closing on podcast sponsors, that and I always get them to because I have 3 different price points on the podcast sponsorships for my industry podcast, and I always get them to generally go with the highest amount, which is the best to me. I show how it's the best value based on the length of time. So a full year, obviously you got a 6 month, you've got a month to month, 6 month, and then you've got a full year sponsorship. And I go in to show how, the full year is obviously the best value for what you're paying, even though it's a much higher price than a month to month. And if they say month to month, no one ever goes month to month anymore, because I've completely told them that doesn't, if you're in it for that, then you're kind of wasting your money, so to speak.
Right. Yep.
And so it's either going to be 6 month or 12 month. And I would say 95% of the time they're going for the 12 month, because they see, it's a higher price, but it's a better value over 12-month period. And I always put, in parentheses, best value, I highlight this in the proposal, because I always have a 1-sheet proposal that I send, and it's organized really well to show like the highlighted one as being the best value based on the amount of sponsorship airtime that you get. So
yeah, there's one of the articles had a good example, and you see this all the time in SaaS products, or memberships, or things like that. And I mean, back when I was selling insurance on kitchen tables, we always gave 3 options.
Yeah.
The one we thought they were most likely to buy was in the middle, and then just in case, we threw out a premium, high-end Cadillac version,
right?
What we would call it, and then we'd have the Volkswagen option on the left.
Yeah.
So on the screen we're showing, here's a basic system for $25, a Pro for $49, premium for $79. And you put in the middle what you think they're most likely to want.
Yeah.
And the premium is if somebody takes it, it's great. It doesn't really cost you any more fulfillment. It's basically going to be about the same amount of work for you. That's the key. You don't want your premium to then, let's say the premium is 60% more expensive. You don't want that to be 60% more work, just in case people do pick it.
Yeah.
So you actually want to dissuade people from picking that product if you want to. But some people are just, they always buy the most premium thing.
Sure.
There's just those buyers out there.
Yep.
That's what they do. And there's people that always buy the cheapest thing.
Right.
So it is kind of putting that package together to make sure you get the right one. So here's the strike throughs we were talking about earlier.
Those are so effective. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazon, I mean, every retailer pretty much uses the strike through price.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people do. I think a lot of people feel like it feels cheesy. We saw back in the day when the Apple guy took over JCPenney, and he tried to get rid of basically price strike throughs and go to round pricing and all that kind of stuff. And it did not.
Yeah, it blew up. I mean,
well.
yeah,
it almost went completely bankrupt. It does. I have read, and I think we had somebody on the show that was talking about, if you're in a high-end market, then the round numbers actually do sell better.
Sure.
Like if you're selling a $4,000 handbag, you're not going to do much good to sell it at $39.99. It's insulting to people,
right?
Because it's a different type of purchase.
They'd almost rather just have the round, the round number at that price.
To be on sale necessarily, at certain price points.
Right.
And it depends, because that's not necessarily true for cars, but it is for like a really high-end handbag or watch or things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting about that. So yeah, price is relative. There was another example. Here's some examples from this article.
Yeah.
Another thing they talked about was breaking down the price to per serving, per day.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I don't know, I think sometimes this is overdone.
Yeah.
I think it started with like, oh, it's this, it's about the same as a coffee per day.
Right.
Kind of thing, because they wanted it to sound
cheaper. Oh yeah.
But when coffee is now $7 a day,
it's changed a little, right?
Now, that's like $250 a month. So I don't know right now. I'm kind of torn. Like when I see cost per serving, it actually makes me do the math, and then it's uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd rather see the total price with a slash and a markdown, and then the cost per serving.
Yeah.
Kind of as a way to
Yeah.
rationalize it. Because if I have to do this is good because they actually show the cost per serving compared to other drinks in the category.
Sure.
So I
Yeah.
think that's smart because look, here's a healthy drink that's only $1.67, or you could get a latte, you could get a Gatorade,
Mm-hmm.
Red Bull, things like that. Now I think that's a good
Oh,
use
absolutely.
of a
Yeah.
single serving, right? Because
Right.
the problem is most people in this example, what we're looking at on the screen for those listening, we're actually looking at Organifi's website. So this
Mm-hmm.
is a supplement that you would take daily.
Yeah.
And so if you're
It's
going to
better for you.
say, yeah, and if you're going to say it's a daily price, then it does make sense to compare it to a single serve can of Gatorade or Red Bull or
Mm-hmm.
a Palm or something like that. Where I don't think this works as well as if you were to come down here and say Organifi Red is, you know, $59 a month, and you don't have any of these other comparisons,
Sure. Yeah.
because you're paying for a container as opposed to a single serve.
Right.
So they did a good job of kind of pulling that back in, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
No, that's very effective.
this was from Casper, where they did the strike through again, but in this one they actually put
I love how they put the color though. Yeah.
yeah, and they put the actual price first, and then they put the strike through price after. Whereas a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people will put the strike through price first because you read left to right.
Right.
Um,
But because
so
they highlight it I think it's very effective when they put the actual price or the saving price in green.
yeah, there's a lot of
You know,
subliminal stuff
right.
going on there.
Mm-hmm.
Green means go.
Yep.
The gray is kind of grayed out. It's not quite a full black font.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those kind of things. So yeah, that's another good example. This one you see a lot now, especially in this economy, especially with Affirm,
Mm-hmm.
coming out. A lot of people are using Affirm to buy more expensive stuff because then they can make payments.
Right.
So here's an example on the screen. It's a Nova hybrid mattress. It's $19.95 or as low as $84 a month.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're like, well, I'm going to have a mattress for years, so why not stretch out the payments?
Sure. At 0%. Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
$84 a month seems a lot more affordable
Mm-hmm.
than $19.95 all at once.
Yep.
Even
Yeah.
though it's the same price.
Yep.
And this is good. You see this a lot in the supplement space where
Mm-hmm.
you get bulk orders. So if you buy 2 bottles, it's $69 per bottle. But if you buy 3 bottles, it's only $51 a bottle.
Yeah.
I think that's really effective too.
Mm-hmm.
It really, you can also put, when I do this for people, I like to put the total savings somewhere on there as well. So they've just got like the total price.
Right.
3-month supply is $207, 2-month supply is $138. If you're going to do that, you have to then show the per bottle price.
Mm-hmm.
Or else I think you lose some of the effect.
Yep.
Because you are paying more for 3 bottles than 2 bottles.
Right.
But I guess on that one, they're giving, you buy 3, you get 1 free. I don't like the way this one's set up. The 207 just stands out too much.
Mm-hmm.
I would have rather gotten to 199. I would have played with those numbers a little bit more.
Yeah.
It was me. Jumping over that $200 mark that's a big jump.
Yeah. Interesting. 207.
Yeah. Not sure how they got to that or why. I'm sure they've tested it. This is a big company. So
yeah.
But it does feel a little high to me when I compare it to the 2-month supply, even though I'm
Do
getting
you
2 more
use
bottles.
What's that?
Even though you're actually getting 4 bottles,
yeah,
or boxes, it doesn't feel that way because it still
right.
says 3-month supply plus 1 box free.
Yeah.
Now the $51 a bottle compared to $69 a bottle makes sense,
right?
Because they're doing the math there with 3. So you're gonna ask a question.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to mention the Oh yeah, I was looking at those too. The packaging,
Hmm.
like putting together package, like anchoring with package prices.
Yeah.
So I've done this before where um, you basically give a higher price for the whole, all of the things that are, if you were to itemize things, right?
Yeah.
Itemize each thing that you have to pay for versus a total package at this price. So what you're doing there is, say for instance, you're selling a consulting package. In my industry, if I do any like podcast training, podcast coaching for a company, it would be, well, here's what you would, here's the price that you're going to pay if you do all of this, buying the equipment individually, boom, going through hours and hours of training, setting this up,
Yep.
learning it all yourself. Here's what it's going to cost you, basically. And it's obvious, it's a higher price based on the value of time, what you would have to look for, pay for, and
Yep.
and then here's the done for you package, which is so effective. The done for you package is actually less than you doing everything yourself and figuring everything out. It'll close every time, right?
Yeah.
And so when you price compare based on, you know, the work that you have to do plus the price of everything that's listed out that you have to go and find compared to done for you, and then you highlight that, it works. It's so effective because it's like, okay, it's not much less, but it's a done for you package that takes away the so much of the time that I would have to invest in getting up to speed or
Yeah.
doing
So
this on my own.
that's another example of like, they know there's a time cost, right?
Yeah.
So even though
Hmm.
it's not a price, is
Which is
like a
more
huge
actually more
price difference,
expensive. Yeah.
right?
Because
So it's relative to the time, because we know I got to
that's
pay my
right.
employees. I got
Hmm.
to wait for this to roll out before I can start making money off of it.
Yeah,
All the different, opportunity costs that
that's right.
happen in that situation.
I
I mean, I've
use
done
it
that too.
in, what's that?
I was gonna say I've done that in copy where it's like, I could break a funnel out. The funnel has basically the same parts. You've got, ads and landing pages and
Yeah.
follow-up emails and sales page,
Right.
and you can price those out individually, or you can say, look, I'll just do the whole funnel for,
Hmm.
you know, 25% less if you just commit to the
Sure.
whole thing. Or we can piece it out and, do it as we go, one after another or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
But I'll say, yeah, if you want to get this all done, knocked out, here's the price.
Here's the price. Yeah.
And
There's
why wouldn't they
value
want?
in,
Yeah.
yeah.
And nobody wants a half-built funnel. So,
No. And
so
always
yeah.
be looking for, you always have to, like, when you're doing pricing strategies or anything like that, you always have to look for, be sure that you're highlighting hidden costs that are so important. I do this in, manufacturing, selling all the time, where I'm pointing out the hidden cost, like, here's your price comparison to this particular product with a lead time, and the hidden cost is you waiting and losing production time, which is how much of your production time. And usually those things are factored in as like how much time this is going to cost you not having, this product in house and running through your operating system, at a given time, as opposed to a lead time that's going to get it there faster. And then the training that's included, that's going to have you up to speed and running on your system in a matter, so it's easy to use the anchoring effect in just about in anywhere. If you can find the hidden cost of, like, some people are just prone to give the direct cost comparison, but
Right.
you've always got to find those hidden, like the hidden cost of there's a hidden cost to everything. There's a
Yep.
hidden cost in delay. There's a hidden cost in, having them figure it out on their own. Like, that's time. Like you said, time is the most valuable resource. It's much more important than money. And if you can put that in some kind of numerical comparison, with the time that they lose, then it's much more effective. And they're always going to go with the easiest done for you package, or things that prevent the less headaches for them in the long run.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, you don't have to do apples to apples comparison either. Like, let's say you were selling, a coaching program or a service or whatever that costs $20,000, but it was going to help them make 100,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a business opportunity type thing. One thing you could do is you compare the $20,000 price tag. One, you compare it to the 100,000 a year they'll be making. That's
Right.
pretty obvious.
Right.
But to them right now, it's still an expense that they've got to write a check for, right? So what have they spent $20,000 on in the past that you can compare to? Well, most people have bought a car that cost at least 20,000.
Yeah, easily.
So you can then compare, look, you ever bought a car? How much that cost you? 20,000, whatever, for a used car. It does a good job of getting you where you want to go from here to there and back. But every time you drive it, it's worth less and less. Every time you use our system, it's going to be worth more and more. And it's actually going to get more valuable over time. Unlike your car that you bought, it's going to get less valuable over time.
Less valuable. Yeah. Depreciate.
Then people can be like, oh, yeah. And there's also some metaphors going on there about a vehicle to get you where you want to go. There's some hypnotic type language there as well. So yeah, I mean, these are all things you can use just when you slow down and you really think about all the things. And this will help your sales presentation too, to really think through this. And that's usually why you want to start with your offer and your offer stack before you ever write your sales letters or anything else, and get the offer right. Did you ever see the movie Focus with Will Smith and Margot Robbie?
I don't think so.
He was like basically a hustler.
Yeah.
But it talks a lot about anchoring and priming and all those kind of things. It's a good movie.
Yeah.
It's probably 10 or 12 years old now. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if you want a movie to illustrate this point, go watch Focus on Netflix or wherever it is.
Okay.
With Will Smith and Margot Robbie. He basically it's a long con type thing. So from the beginning of the movie all the way in, even though it looks like he's losing, he actually, it's a long con.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's several cons going on with several different people, and you don't know who's going to come out on top. So
yeah,
I'm not going to tell you who comes out on top. But it'll keep you guessing for sure. But there's a couple scenes in there where they explain what they're doing and why, which is really revealing. And it's just it'll blow your mind. It's kind of like some of the stuff we talked about with Jonathan last
Pritchard.
Yeah. So I'm sure he could make a lot of comments. He'd also tell us all the stuff that doesn't work in that movie, I'm sure.
Right.
A little embellished. So
yeah, his book's good. I got it in. I was actually reading it last week. So it's good
behind
stuff.
On my reading. I haven't gotten to that one yet.
So. Speaking of books, you see the anchoring effect in books a lot of times, where not only on Amazon, but like, buying them, where you see, and this, I don't see it as much anymore. I don't know if you noticed it, but it used to, where people would put like, so much in value or bonus material in the book, that's, $500, $900 worth of additional bonus material.
You don't see that as much anymore. Like, $300 worth of worksheets or something like that. Business planning worksheets, if it was a business book.
I just wonder if it's not, you don't see it because it's not as effective as much, but I don't know. To me, when I see that, it's
probably just fell out of style. It's people just forgot about it. And, it's one of those things. If it's working, then, or some people, I don't know. That'd be interesting to ask somebody about. But I agree. Like having that little sticker on there is like
Dan Kennedy used to do all the time with some of his no BS books. Like, I remember.
Gets you, purchase a book, gets a code for $350 worth of whatever, consulting or business forms or coupons and discounts. You think about it, if you were, depending on the type of book you were writing, you could go around to your industry
Mm-hmm.
and get some offers, stack those things together, and be like, when you register your book, you'll get, access to
Yeah.
$2,366 worth of free
Yeah.
gifts from my friends.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I remember those. Yeah, I've forgotten about them, but yeah, now that you
Yeah.
mention it, you don't see
Yeah.
those
I
anymore.
mean, to me, there was always that perceived value. Like, I got to grab that because I mean, I want to see, there might be some bonus material in there that I don't want to miss out on.
Yeah. And it ups the curiosity factor too. But
Absolutely.
it definitely justifies the price of the book. You're like, it's $15.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, heck, even if, the bonuses are half as good as,
Sure.
worth half as much, I'm still ahead.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. I'm surprised they don't do more of that.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty good. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah. One last thing. I want to give a shout out to Kevin Donlin, who's been on our show before. I just love his, and we need to invite him back on, but he sends out a 1-page newsletter. I don't pay a dime for it. So, I mean, speaking of pricing, I don't pay a dime for it. But I've been on his list ever since, we had him on. Do you get anything, Sean?
I signed up for his list and I never got it. So I think I must have done something wrong. I need to try again.
I'm sure he would be happy to put you on.
It's like when you're not getting somebody's email, you don't know you're not getting it. You just don't get it.
This is a crazy effect, is like the effect of the perceived value. I look forward to getting that, and it's just a 1 page. It's like he printed it out on his printer, folds it up and sticks it in a regular envelope and sends it out. Sometimes it'll be a colored envelope.
Could have sworn when he was on, I signed up for that, and then I never.
Oh, I'll reach out to him because it is. I'm going to make a comment because I see him sometimes on LinkedIn, and he gives a lot of great value. But I look forward to his, it's called his AHA. It's the AHA newsletter, and it's always filled with really good tips, like front and back. And it's just and then he'll share like a testimonial from one of his clients or something like that. But obviously for him, it's working. I mean, he wouldn't be doing it if it did not work from a marketing standpoint. I'm sure it gets him clients. So it works for him. It's a low cost investment. I mean, you're sending out, you're printing these out and putting a postage stamp on them and sending them out to a group of people.
Yeah, you're probably talking $1.25
right
per person.
But the perceived value over somebody that sends out something by email on a regular basis that I completely skip over.
Yep.
I don't read it. But man, I look forward to his. His goes out once a month. I get it in the mail once a month, and I look forward to getting it because I read it, and I always read it. And
funny,
go through it.
So let's say it's $1.50.
Yeah,
that's probably high for an envelope, one piece of paper, and a stamp.
Yeah,
it's probably closer to $1. So let's say $1. That's $12 per year per prospect.
Yeah,
and people will drop $10 on a Facebook ad click.
Yeah,
trying to get a lead. Here's somebody who's already raised their hand and said, I want to be a lead.
Right.
You're crazy not to spend $12 a year to stay in front of those people.
Yep.
And you'll actually get in front of them more often in the mail than you will in email. Yeah, that's a good point.
And perceived value. Everybody wants.
Nobody's doing that. I mean,
no one's doing it whatsoever. And I think that's, we're so numb to, emails and things like that we just, the perceived value has gone down regardless of who it is. I mean, because Ben Settle, he puts out some pretty good stuff, but I just don't have time to read it all the time. And I just gloss over it. Yeah. But with, with Kevin's stuff,
it's in the middle of a stack of other emails, right?
Exactly.
So right. Part of your brain is like, oh, I just got to get through these. Whereas if it's the only letter in a pile of bills, now it's unique and it's interesting and
stands out.
Yeah.
He tends to, it's always in a colored envelope, but it's just a one page printed on both sides.
Does he ever do ride-alongs, or does it always just his stuff? Does he ever put any other offers in it for other people?
Nope. He talks about his obviously his client's experience with him. Obviously it's this little social proof there. And
Right.
you can find Kevin's stuff over at I think it's client cloning systems. .com or something if you Google client cloning systems, but that's his thing. But he's a great marketer. It's not, he's a big, he's kind of a Dan Kennedy protege. Yeah, there you go. Clientcloningsystems.com. And just kudos to him because, it's one of those things you think you get like his physical newsletter. At some point it would drop off, but I've gotten these things for the last year and they're really good.
Yeah.
And a lot of value. I feel like I actually need to spend some money with him. It's like man, working. I'm getting these every month. It's like, you almost like need to reciprocate there, but
yeah, that means it's working then.
I got to give him a shout out in the process because he does some good stuff. So
yeah, good guy. Yeah, we should have him back on, see what he's up to these days.
Yeah. I talked about, I mentioned this thing at a trade show last week because it is so important. The value of physical, having a physical, whether it's a physical newsletter over email or a physical book over a digital book, whether it's a white paper or whatever. It's just perception is incredible. I was like, you guys should be, because the topic, I was doing a keynote on AI and just how you can use AI in your business. And, I got into talking about Claude.ai, how you can upload certain documents and get it to learn from these particular, whether it's a white paper or a ebook or something like that, and say, I need you to write something based on what you've just learned here. So the tools are just amazing. And the fact that I told people, all of these guys were brick and mortar companies. And I said, there's an opportunity for you guys just to, instead of like putting out like, something you can download, obviously do like a mini book or do a book or something like that you can hand out to customers that either go into your showroom or your salespeople or your marketing team can send out. It's so much more effective, being able to hold something. It's got that thump factor to it. So.
Yeah, and you can format a book with enough white space and pictures and things like that. Most people with some case studies and you can get to we've had those on before, the mini books and the they don't have. You'd be surprised how fast one of those little mini books can fill up, because especially if you're doing a small 3x5 size little mini books.
I've got mini books on things that I'm not even interested in. That the guy that sent us, that we interviewed with Mini Book, he's the founder. He sent us a whole bunch of books. They're just so cool, man. And there's something about not wanting to throw away a book.
I've got them somewhere around here. I don't know where they are on one of these bookshelves back here, but there's something about them that, especially if your demographic likes books, but even if they don't, it's a little bit harder to throw away than a pamphlet, and a whole lot harder to throw away than an email.
Yep.
I mean, it's so easy to delete an email.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's actually people's goal, is to delete an email.
Is to clean out their, exactly. Clean out their inbox. And I mean, these mini books or even printed newsletters, opportunity, going back to, anchoring, a huge opportunity there to incorporate your marketing message with anchors, obviously for your products or services. So this all ties in pretty well. But I need to invite, I'm going to reach back out to Kevin, see if he wants to join us again, because I just love what he's doing. He's a good guy too. We've had him on. He's just kind of a pretty humble guy. He's just out there doing it. He's crushing it in his thing and playing baseball. I think he's our age and playing baseball still.
It's like Ben, our buddy Ben. He's out playing softball and kickball and
there you go.
He's like, man,
I admire it.
Getting after it. I like it. So, good stuff.
Well, good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. As always, you can find us persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your podcast platforms, wherever you listen to podcasts. We're going to take next week off, but we'll be back the following week on the show. and looking forward to it. Sean, any big plans this weekend? Got a big...
Yeah, we're sending off our youngest is leaving the nest.
Oh, man, empty nest syndrome is coming at you.
Yeah, so Tamara and
She's
Sydney are
going
heading to Florida.
Florida.
Tamara's going to drive out with her, and then Tamara will fly back next week. So I'm batching it for the week, and
you'll be just kicking it, watching some good college football games.
Well, tomorrow, yes, but like the rest of the week, I've got a lot of copy to write in the next week.
So, that's right. That's right.
House will be quiet.
Take advantage.
Yeah, take some modafinil. Knock out some coffee.
Yeah.
So yeah, should be fun.
Yeah, good stuff. Good slate of games on tomorrow. So we'll see. We
getting into it now. Getting into conference play.
Yeah. Last week we talked about Dion, and then he got shellacked. So we won't.
Might get shellacked again, but
probably.
He knew that, but
yeah,
I think he's handled it well. I've been watching some of the interviews and some of that. You know, he's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's where we thought we'd be. You know, it's like no big deal.
Yeah.
You know, he's like, I know where I'm going. Y'all can come along or not. I don't care. You know, I love
he
that.
says,
I love that attitude.
I'm keeping receipts. I'm keeping receipts. He's keeping receipts.
Yeah, he's got a little black book. He knows every reporter that doubted him.
That's right.
You know, every AD or, you know, whatever that doubted
I love what he said, because I mean it's fun, because I you know, in response to his loss, he said, man, you better get me now, because this is the worst we're ever going to be. So
yeah, that's a great line.
It's a great line. It's very persuasive too. So if you think about it, like, you know, it's man, that's just a positive message. Like this is as bad as we're ever going to be. I promise you. So you might as well give us your best shot now and try to knock us down now, because we're only going up from here. So
yeah, that just exudes confidence after.
Oh, absolutely.
Loss. Now, if he says that for 3 years, like Butch Jones or somebody at Tennessee,
yeah,
you know, we're brick by brick for like 3 years. That's
going to be a problem.
Going to lose it's
that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. I got a feeling he's not content though. He's they're going in one direction.
He's a competitor for sure. So
yep,
be good.
All right, fantastic. Well, listen, have a great weekend. Again, we look forward to seeing you back here in a couple of weeks. Sean, have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time on the show.
See ya. I was like, dang, he had to go. We're still live. Still showing live.
Dang, okay.